I gotta move one more time, sorry. Background presentation for PFAS and phthalates, two classes of chemicals that are really important. I'm actually gonna start with phthalates, and I'm gonna run through a fairly quick presentation, and then I'll talk through the rest about PFAS in a second. So, how many of you have ever, prize for the person who can actually spell the word phthalates? Anyone, any takers for that? Yes, ma'am. Phthalates. 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 Somebody's gone to it, somebody's heard, somebody shouted out PH, yes? PH, TH, AL, ATES. You get the prize. Tell me your name. Come forward.
Well, I don't think it's fair.
I love this. This is really an amazing demonstration of like honesty, right? So give her a round of applause for that. Thank you very much. Anyway, so we're gonna spend some time talking about phthalates today, and then talking about PFAS. So now that we've gotten through the spelling tests, and you can see the actual spelling of it up there if you weren't sure before. It is this crazy word that begins with a PH, and then right after that follows a TH, and the rest is pretty simple. Phthalates are a class of chemicals that are used to make plastics softer and more pliable. So if you've ever had a water bottle, like a plastic water bottle, and it's squishy, right? That squishiness is the result of them imposing phthalates into the plastic polymers, okay? If you've had a water bottle like this one, thank you for this prop, whoever put this here. It's Adi's water bottle. This is clear, right? You can see what's inside the bottle. Highly likely, I'm not sure about this one, but highly likely that phthalates have been added as a clarifier in the chemical polymers, the plastic polymers. So phthalates are used, I know Adi's like, no, no. Phthalates are used to make make plastic polymers clearer. They are also, how many of you have read an ingredients label? Show of hands. Okay, our goal is to get everybody in these rooms to read ingredients labels. Even though you might not be able to pronounce all the words on the crazy ingredient labels, our goal is to get everybody to be reading the labels. And why? Because it begins the pathway for you understanding what you are exposed to, what the chemical companies or the manufacturers of particular products have decided on your behalf that it is okay for you to be exposed to. Anyway, the reason I was asking about the labels is because sometimes when you read the ingredients for products, you will see the word fragrance. How many people have ever seen that word on a product ingredient list, fragrance? Show of hands. Okay, about 90 to 95% of the time, that fragrance means that they have added phthalates into the product. So phthalates are also chemicals that are used to provide fragrance to particular things like laundry detergent. When you crack open that bottle of laundry detergent that you most recently bought and it gives you that perfumed, fragrant kind of aroma, think phthalates. When you use an air freshener, think phthalates, okay? So these are chemicals that are also synthetic fragrances that are added to products to give them a scent. I'm going to run through very quickly for you some of the products that you can actually see. So any of these types of fragrance and scented products, anybody use? Show of hands. Oh, that's good if the hands are small, but yes, put them up. Okay, what about shower curtains? Anybody use shower curtains? All right, the vinyl kind? Okay, think phthalates. Okay, what about cleaning products? Oh, this is a test. No. Cleaning products. What about cleaning products? Yeah? Many of the cleaning products that we use contain phthalates. Here's something that you may not have thought about, right? I put this sign on the right up, on your right? Handlers, after using the toilet and before handling food or food equipment, wash your hands. Wash your hands. Now, a lot of times in the food preparation business, we used to think that washing your hands was what would help us, and it is very important, right? And you must wash your hands. Please have people adhere to this. We want to make sure that they don't necessarily use some of the liquid soaps with the antimicrobial, bacterial kinds of chemicals in them. Soap and water is perfect, perfect. Regular bar of soap, some water, maybe even a little bit of lemon juice somewhere nearby, perfect. But in the food handling business, people are also made to wear gloves, okay? And one of the challenges with the gloves, many of the gloves that are in the marketplace, is that those gloves are also containing phthalates as well. Remember what I said very early on about phthalates? Remember this example? Clear, right? And pliable. So gloves are often, what? You can shout, you can shout. Gloves are often clear and pliable, exactly. So they can contain phthalates as well. And so people who are handling food are putting on the gloves thinking that they're doing a good thing, right? But instead, one of the things that can be happening in that process is that they can be transmitting phthalates into the food that we eat. And so that is another source of phthalates as well.
Question.
Yes?
Question on that. Even if we wear gloves outside, we wear gloves, is that still?
The question is, even if you're wearing the gloves and you're using the food or handling the food and it's the outside layer of the gloves, is that still phthalates? The answer is yes, right? It's contact, and it's contact with the food that allows the phthalates themselves to break away from the actual glove material itself. So yes, it's inside and outside. So sometimes people have latex allergies, and so you see now that there are these dust-free gloves, latex-free gloves. What we have to get to the point of is that there are phthalates-free gloves. So it doesn't matter whether it's the inner part of it, if you take your hand out of the glove and you've been exposed to the phthalates as well, and we'll come to that in a second. So these are places where you can find phthalates, right? You can see them in the various types of products, and I think the last one is fragrances, right? And a lot of times people will think fragrances, oh, that's perfumes, that's for women or girls or boys, not men, right? The reality is that fragrances, period, whether they are marketed for men or whether they're marketed for women, they contain phthalates, all right? So these are some of the product categories where you can be exposed to phthalates. Cosmetics, again, you know, these are products, depending on whoever wears them. Lots of people who are in the acting business wear them. Some people wear them for medical reasons. Some people, you know, this is part of their beauty regime, right? And so people wear makeup, right? In most of the makeup and cosmetic products that are out there, you are exposing yourself to phthalates. So going back to Adi's reaction a little while ago about when I held up her bottle and she was like, no. One of the things that I wanted everyone to walk away from this to understand is that phthalates are everywhere, right? There have been studies that show that our exposure to phthalates is so high that it's basically ridiculous that you don't even need to sort of study it to know that everybody has been pretty much exposed. It is in practically everything, okay? Except those things that say that they're phthalates free, and then we'll come to that in a second. So cosmetics, right? That's the last one that I'll go on to. Health effects of phthalates. Some of the health effects include things like infertility, right? Infertility, right, is one of the effects that have been linked to phthalate exposure. Asthma. Phthalates are deemed to be a trigger for asthma. Breast cancer, obesity, okay? Allergies, male genitalia deformities, okay, men?
What?
Yeah, what? I figured that would wake some of you up, okay? You know, as men, many of us get very particular about our genitalia, right? And phthalates exposure has been shown to lead to male genitalia deformities. So you should care about these things. Early puberty in girls. Early puberty in girls is not a good thing, right? In many instances, early puberty in girls can lead to early onset of breast cancer, okay? And other types of cancer. So this is not a good thing, okay? But phthalates exposure has been linked to that as well. Lastly, mental, motor, and developmental issues. And when we say motor, this is about the body's ability to move. So if I'm moving my hand, this is a motor exercise that's going on right here. Obviously, I don't know the difference between my arm and my hand, right? But anyway, it's a motor skill, right? To be able to do this or this. Walking is a motor skill, so that's what we're talking about there. And then developmental issues are about sort of just the progress in biological development, and our mental development is also up there as well. So these are some of the health effects. What are the basic ways that you're exposed to phthalates? There are three basic ways that you're exposed to phthalates. The first is ingestion, Ingestion, meaning if you eat it, if there's something that you eat. So that's why when we say things like phthalate exposure to food can come from the gloves that are handling that food, right? You'll see in a second that we also say, if you microwave your food in a plastic bowl that is not clearly labeled phthalate-free, that's a potential source of exposure to your food, which you will then ingest, okay? The second pathway to exposure is, inhalation, right? So inhalation is when you breathe things in, okay? So phthalates, like many other chemicals, can break down and break out of the materials that they have been put into. And so you can get phthalates in the dust in your home, okay? You can be exposed to phthalates, yes, sir.
So we're saying right now, but everybody that's wearing perfume with cologne, right now, we're inhaling that. While we sit next to each other.
That one's a little more complicated. I'm not the scientific expert. I would say that the person who has put the cologne on is more likely to be the person who's most impacted by the phthalates themselves because of number 2, absorption, right? They have applied that to their skin, which is the largest human organ, by the way, right? And that is a way in which they are absorbing the phthalates into their body, okay? More likely for it to come through inhalation is if it is actually breaking down, like let's say you have old rubber gloves somewhere, right? And they've been sitting around for a long time, and what will happen is that the actual phthalates themselves will break free or come out of those gloves over time. It's just like a natural decomposition of the product, and they will settle in the dust in the home. And that's one way in which you are able to sort of inhale it. It is possible. I mean, I'm sure that inhaling these fragrances over a long period of time, possibly, right? But I think in that case, with the fragrance, the more direct pathway is through actual absorption. Okay, so those are the three pathways that you can be exposed to it. Ingestion, if it's what you through what you eat. Inhalation, when you breathe it in, and absorption. So those are your three pathways for exposure. What can you do to protect yourself? So protecting yourself is this thing that you know, it's not just one thing to be done, because as we said, phthalates are everywhere. They're literally just ubiquitous in terms of the products that we use, in foods that we eat, etc. So they're literally everywhere. So one thing that we advise people to do is to look for products that say that they're phthalate-free. Look on these labels, read the product itself, and if it says phthalate-free, you should be able to rely upon that. And I would choose a phthalate-free product over one that says nothing at all. If it is silent about it, or if it says fragrance on the label, it's likely to have phthalates in it. So that leads me to another point, which is avoid things that say fragrance. Avoid things that say fragrance. Fragrance in many, many products is a substitute for saying, we have put phthalate chemicals, classes of chemicals into this product. Another thing is, don't microwave or store your food in plastic containers that are not labeled as phthalate-free. Try to avoid that as much as possible. I know that it is, you know, we've got stuff in our homes, and I'm not saying, you know, go on a tear and throw everything out, although that would be good. But we do have to be practical about how we sort of move through some of these. We don't all have, you know, a ton of money stashed away somewhere to substitute products anytime we want to. So don't microwave or store your food in plastic containers that aren't phthalate-free. Limit the amount of products that you put on your skin. So creams and lotions, right? Personal care products. Many of these products contain phthalates. Some of them are used, like if you see something that says silky, soft, and smooth, right? Silky, soft, and smooth is code for what? Now you gotta do better than that. Silky, soft, and smooth is code for what? Phthalates. That's right, phthalates. So avoid putting on a lot of these lotions. If you don't need them, let's say your skin is naturally oily, then you don't need to add a lot of this stuff, right? But there are some of us, myself included, see my elbows. They get ashy. Then avoid putting on creams or lotions that don't tell you that they're phthalates free. So look for the ones that are phthalate free and use them. Yes, ma'am. Colleen?
Yes.
Okay.
Hi. What about oils?
Excellent. Colleen's question is, how about oils? Coconut oil? Absolutely wonderful. Natural oils? Natural oils, not synthetic oils. You know, I tell people, like, when I talk about these things, I share with people, some of you may have seen my mom at meetings. My mom puts on every day, she'll probably, you know, beat me up for telling this, but my mom puts on every day, like, olive oil. Literally, like the olive oil that we used to cook with, literally she puts it on her skin. She puts it on her skin and literally, you know, goes about her business. Anyway, don't tell her I told you that, okay? That's our secret. Yes, 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 ma'am.
For women, what about when you go to the doctor for GYN, they put the plastic gloves and the cream?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the gel I don't know about, but I was trying to get through that with some ease and some grace. You just blew me out of the water there. No, the gel I don't know about, but I will find out and probably get back to you. I don't know what gels are used, and I'm sure there may be a variety of different brands. The plastic gloves, let's talk about this and let's be focused for a second. The vagina is one of the most absorptive parts of the human body, okay? And it is one of the things that you hear us talking about, for example, feminine care products. This is one of the reasons that we are so focused on getting toxic chemicals out of these things, because whatever is put into the vagina can literally be in the human bloodstream within minutes, okay? Within minutes. It is one of the most absorptive parts of the human body. And so the gloves, and if they have phthalates in them, that is another pathway of exposure. So thank you for asking that question. Tell me your name. Johnny? Oh, sorry. Good morning. Yes, sir. Tell me your name too. Brian. Yes.
That's another reason why they can't use like Dove soap and stuff like that. That's perfume.
Soaps that have fragrances in them, yes, they are probably made with phthalates, not more than likely, as I said before, and so that should be avoided as well. Okay? Yes. I'm sorry. One more. Give me 1 second. Yes.
FYI, it turns out that the gel that's made with pregnant woman has an ultrasound and also
Caroline is saying that a gel that a woman uses when she takes an ultrasound turns out to also have phthalates as well. So phthalates are everywhere. This is proof positive that they are everywhere. I want to move on very quickly because, yes ma'am, I'm sorry, there was a question. Yes. Hi.
I just wanted to go back to olive oil.
Yes ma'am.
When we were children, my mother gave it to us to drink.
Yes.
And when she finished there, it's from our head to our feet.
There you go. Best recipe for not only a long life, but healthy skin without phthalates. Okay, limit the use, avoid products that say fragrance, and then work with us to get legislation and policies passed that get phthalates out of the products that we use. Okay, so that's the phthalates part. Very quickly, I'm gonna walk you through PFAS. So PFAS is another class of chemicals, and it's more than 3,000 man-made, what are known as fluorinated organic chemical compounds, and they are generally the longer name for PFAS is per and polyfluorinated chemicals. It's a class of chemicals. They are made by companies like 3M, for example, and many others. So if you've ever seen the 3M brand, they are also one of the reasons that we have PFAS. 3M is the actual, so the number 3 and the letter M is the actual name of the company. Another company that manufactures it is DuPont, if you've heard of DuPont before. But 3M and DuPont are some of the largest manufacturers of PFAS chemicals. PFAS is used to actually do a number of different things. So how many of you have ever seen these non-stick or have non-stick pans, frying pans, pots, non-stick, and so forth? The non-stick quality is created by putting the chemical this class of chemicals, PFAS, into the actual pans, pots, and etc. And so when those pans sometimes get scraped, chipped, dinged, they are releasing PFAS into the environment and exposing you to it as well. How many of you have actually bought food and it's in a wrapper and it's like that paper that's not quite like foil paper, but it's got like a shiny inside and it's meant to keep the food heated, but it also doesn't allow the grease to come out? How many of you have seen that kind of paper before? Show of hands, yeah? PFAS. Think PFAS. PFAS is what's allowing the paper not to get greasy and soiled, and it's allowing the coatings that to keep all the juices in. Yes, sir. I need to go quickly though, but Brian, yes.
Quick question.
Yes.
Because I cook a lot. So what should I be using instead of the non-stick frying pan?
Go back to ones that don't have that non-stick coating would be my advice. The question was, I cook a lot. What should I use instead of the non-stick frying pan? Cast iron, stainless steel, etc. Those types of pots, go ahead and use them. Just add a little bit more oil. So I'm gonna go a little quickly to finish out. But PFAS is a fairly dangerous chemical. It is found in firefighting foam. It comes from military uses, so on military bases. There are many military bases where there's a lot of PFAS that's used, and it's actually disposed of, sadly, into the waterways that are around there. PFAS can also be found in these containers, like the clamshell containers, foodware, we call it. Foodware, PFAS will be in the foodware itself that allows for those things not to get greasy as well. It can be in particular types of clothing, so some of the clothing can be treated with PFAS to make it flame retardant, etc. So there are a lot of ways in which PFAS is in the environment. And one of the biggest challenges with PFAS is food contact, because of the types of things that I told you about. So the materials that are used to keep the food warm and make sure that the grease doesn't seep out or soil the paper that's contained in. And then water contamination. Water contamination is one of the biggest challenges with regards to PFAS. Now in New York City, our water comes from these reservoirs upstate New York, and so we don't have a lot of problems here in the city, but across New York State, there is dumping of PFAS into waterways and creating contamination for a number of different people in their communities. So a place like Hoosick Falls, which is far upstate from here, has the issue of their water sources being contaminated.
So our pipes are bad.
Our pipes, Ron is saying our pipes are bad. The pipes may be bad, but they are not giving us PFAS contamination. So one less thing to worry about there. Anyway, PFAS is yet another class of chemicals that many people are beginning to focus on. WEACT is beginning to focus and work on it. We will try to bring you more information about it. A lot of this is very new to many in the environmental movement, and focusing on it is a big concern right about now. It does have and can create a number of different types of health effects in terms of impacting people's kidney functions. It is also linked to, or presumed to be linked to, certain types of cancers. And so it's another chemical class that is being introduced into both products that are used as well as then breaking down and getting into the waterways or into our food, and this is creating a problem. The last thing I'll say about PFAS is that there are a number of pieces of legislation that have been looking to ban PFAS. So we've worked on some bills up in Albany to ban PFAS in firefighting foam, and then also to ban it in foodware products. And so we will keep you abreast of how things are going with that. But with that, I want to sort of turn back to Adi. I think I'm way over time.